Well, I'm super excited to catch you guys. I know this was like kind of just pop up. I talked to a couple of you guys and I was like, you know what, let's do this because I know the power that it has, not just for the people that you lead and serve, but for you. Like as I've seen people develop, like learn how to lead others, it's almost this like forced growth that happens because there's things like you have to learn and like how to like help them manage emotions or how to help close it or whatever, but it helps you. And so you're learning how to do this for other people. But what I found over the last, 2 decades is that during this process, as people are learning this to be able to support others, they actually end up getting so much better personally at the job, and so much stronger. And I remember having like Angie Gonzalez, that she worked with me, and she didn't have, she lacked confidence in sales for sure her first summer. She sold about 4,000. She went through our leadership academy. She worked as an intern, and she's like, I really I want to get to the top. She's like, but she interned and moved into the administrative side of things like Leslie is, and she was one of my recruiting managers that next year, as we were going into 2012. And so from January through June, she was a recruiting manager, right? And so she helped create touches, helped with the advertising, work with the campuses, help run the interviews, help people get in. Like that's what she ended up taking over, was more of the administrative side, because she wasn't as confident with her sales. And I don't know, she just like saw it as a scary monster. And I was like, girl, I'm like, let's go. And so we had her during SE1 start managing a team, right? Doing like being like a mini team captain. And she went through like learning this coaching. And so, and I watched her over that month as she was working with other people, teaching, asking us like, what do I say when they say this? What do I do when they do this? Right. And so obviously as she's learning it from asking us and helping other reps, she was getting stronger with that. And so once we got ready for SE2 at this time, she was like, I want to sell for SE2. She's like, I want to have a 10K push, and by the way, she'd worked with me for like a year and a half and it sold like less than $6,000, I don't know, she's like a 4,800 or something. And I was like, you can do it. I said, if you want to do it, you can do it. And like, but there's things you have to like make sure are there, right? And we're going to be diving into some of this stuff on Tuesday. But, for you guys, like you want to succeed at a high level, any rep wants to succeed at a high level. What is somebody, and I want to hear your guys' feedback. If someone like just very, very basic things, there's 3 basic things that someone needs to have in order to succeed at a high level with Cutco. Anyone want to guess any of those things?
Confidence.
Okay.
Discipline.
And that's not one of my 3, but yes, discipline, yes, confidence. I'm saying those are absolutely. All right. 3 key areas of things like for themselves. Like they need, if you're going to do this job first, where do you get your customers? They need people to call, right? Like the first thing is like, do they have people to call? Super important, because they can get really great at sales and they have no one to see, or they don't book demos. It doesn't matter. And so number 1 is, do they have people to call? Do they have people to contact, right? And part of that, having the discipline to get your shit down, having the confidence to ask for recs with confidence, and not like, because Angie, and that was something I noticed, like she actually would do a pretty solid demo when she started doing her demos again, but she's like, no one wants to give me recs. And I'm like, that's not true. She's like, well, I'm not getting many recs. I'm getting like 3. And I go, that's your problem. And she's like, what? I'm like, that's your problem, not them. I said, I bet if I went into all your customers, I would have gotten double sponsors, triple sponsors, on a low end, a sponsor. And she was like, I don't know. And I'm like, I do. And I said, ask me for recs. I said, just ask me for recs. And I remember when I did her skills check that day, it was literally like a different person. Like she's like a very like bubbly, like positive person. And then when she was like, so, here's where you can really help me. And it was just this very like kind of scared, timid, like I'm scared to ask, or I feel bad. Like I feel like I'm like being like a nuisance or a bother, or like I've had you for too long, or, and I remember asking her, because after she asked me, I go, who was that? I said, who was that? Because that's not the same girl that shared with me about like her art and doing her like nonprofit and helping people with like depression, like all this stuff. I said, where's that girl? I was like, where's that girl I talked to like, a little bit ago when you told me about goals? I said, your energy was so different. And it's so wild, guys, because sometimes like, it's just that, right? Like how they show up, their confidence, like the energy they put off, and how customers feed off of that, And I said, I said, your energy is lower at the end. And for me as a customer, I'm like, wait, that feels weird. Like, why are they different? Like, why aren't they as excited as they were in the beginning? And the fact is, you should be even more excited when you ask for Rex because it's a free way to help. It doesn't even cost them anything, you know? So, like, if they like you and they're excited, why would they not recommend you to everyone they freaking know, right? And I said, so it's in your head. And I said, do you feel, and I remember asking, like, do you ever feel like maybe you've taken too much of their time or you feel bad taking longer? And she's like, absolutely. I said, that's why you're not getting a lot of Recs. I said, so don't forget, why do they do the appointment? They do the appointment to help you out. All right. In most cases, very few do it just to buy Cutco. All right. Most customers I saw, they were just like doing it to help me out. Their friend referred them, like, sure, we'll do it. I don't know if I'm going to buy anything. Or they said, I'm not going to buy anything. And even then ended up purchasing. Right. But like they did the appointment to help out. Whether they buy or not depends on, do they like the product? Do they see the value? Right. And definitely if they're on the fence, them liking you can help put them over, but they don't buy because of you necessarily. They buy because like, is it worth it? They could like you all they want. If they think something is not worth it, they're not going to buy it, you know? And so is it worth it? Am I going to use it? Is this a good investment? And so you might have heard me say, well, when you tie them in, you might have bigger sales. It does impact the areas because those maybe, should we get it later? Should we get it now? Those maybes go, you know what? Let's just get it now. I'd rather help Kat. We're going to have it forever anyway. Let's just do it. And it'll put them over, right? Those people that had to buy gifts for weddings, for birthdays, for other activities, right? That like, we're going to buy them from Galleria Mall or from Paybrook or from Amazon. Now all of a sudden, like, you know what? Let's get Johnny a fishing knife. He loves to fish. I'd rather support Eric than buy something from the mall, right? And so money they were going to spend anyway gets rerouted to you, right? Because they like you and they rather give you business and support you than support the mall or support Amazon. Are you guys with me? All right. And so I remember sharing that with her, and I was like, so the sales stuff like really depends more on like how much fun you have. Do you build value? Do you expect them to buy? That's a whole separate conversation. And if you guys haven't, if somebody, and I'm going to give you some things, we're going to put like if someone's having like lacks belief in like, do people actually spend this much money or what they do? There's a video that I highly recommend to start with. The first video, which is closing sale or increasing your average order 101. That's the first thing that somebody should watch. And even you guys, if there's any lack of confidence with people purchasing, right? And so they're not selling a lot, or if they're hearing a lot of I can't afford it, like, oh, they just couldn't afford it, they just couldn't do that, or like, I don't really know anyone that can afford it, you know, like that makes a difference. And so I just put in the chat that so you guys can have that. And we're gonna put together a document so you guys have these resources, but that's important. So that's separate, right? So I talked to her and I said, you do your demo, go through, they like Cutco, you help them out. I said, but at the end, you have to go back to the most exciting part, which you told them in the beginning, was the fact that you get paid every time you show Cutco. But you can only show people you've been personally recommended to, right? And you'd have fun with them. Like, oh, do you remember the sponsorship? You need to make them feel great. You guys have heard me talk about this, but like, do you make them feel like a rock star just for taking time out for you at the end? That makes a difference, right? And so that is something that I talked to her. I said, at the end, are you making them feel like a freaking rock star for their time? Are they smiling? Are they like, do they feel good? Do you feel good? You made them feel good no matter what happened at the end. And then are you marking and showing them visually how they helped you with your thermometer or filling in their initials or whatever it is, where they really see visually how far they got you, right? And I said, if you stop thinking about, oh my gosh, I'm taking too much of their time. Oh, I feel like a nuisance. Oh, I don't want to be annoying. Oh, am I bothering them? Like that mentality is going to keep you from getting where you want to go. And this goes to, yes, your point. I think Selene, you said confidence or whoever, or discipline and confidence, two huge things. And those weren't the three specifics, which I'm going to cover that I'm looking for in terms of someone succeeding. But those are in terms of characteristics that somebody needs. Absolutely. Right. And so the level of confidence when you're asking to get referred to people, like that matters. And your level of excitement when you do that, it matters. And so for me, if you watch my demo, asking for referrals at the end, like filling in like how they helped me, filling in my thermometers and asking for Rex was the most exciting part of my presentation. And I said, so Angie, stop thinking about that and just go have some freaking fun. Be the highlight of their freaking day. They like Cutco. Your job is to help them find what's best today, but then get back to the free way to help. And that's why they helped you anyway. They did an appointment just to help you out. They give you referrals to help you out. Got it? If they're just thinking about the product though, you're only get referrals they think might buy. That's when you only get 2 or 3, but if they're really thinking about you, and we're going to have a panel and questions, and Eric, we want to have you on that because that was, it's been a really cool switch to see the last 2 weeks, just implementing that, same thing happened with Naomi when I did that with her, a year and a half ago, and just really seeing that switch and being able to get way more referrals has to do with like, how tied in they are to you and how enrolled they are to where you're going. And she made that, and she's like, okay, I go, it's seriously all in your freaking head, and so we practiced, went through, I'm like, just make sure your energy goes up, you get super excited at the end, we made sure she had all her visuals and stuff there, and she went and did that, and then boom, she started getting 20, 30, 50, 40, 10, 20, and crushing it, and she built some good momentum into the push. And then she was able to go out, and she had a $14,000 SC2 push, and at the end of the push, she also had over 400 new people to go see. And that really helped fuel her next year. And when she transferred up to Chicago, to be able to save up money when she went up to the Art Institute there, right? And so that's the first like people need people to call, so there's 2 aspects to that. One I just talked about, right? Like, how are they with their referrals? How are they asking? Like, are we diving in and really checking that? And that's something I want to check for each and every one of you, right? To make sure. And tomorrow I've got hours in the afternoon where I have availability to do skills checks and dive in. I'm going to post office hours basically from 1 to 5 p.m. tomorrow, to be able to help anybody who like wants me to check their goals, give them feedback, go through, see how you ask for recs. I have time available tomorrow afternoon to be able to do some of that. Okay. But the other part is, what's their names list look like? Because a lot of times people feel, and Claudia is going to show you guys, how to help people with that and how to help yourself too, right? Because like everything you learn for other people, apply it to yourself first. And the other part of having people to call is just, are they really wringing the rag on all the initial people, right? I talk about this in my high flyer workshop and training, but like, are we getting every last drop, every last, like, have they got, because a lot of times, and you guys might be culprits of this, I was when I was new, I was like, I don't have anyone to call. And it was like, I don't have anyone new to call, or like, I already called these people, but like, if they haven't picked up, they're still I like, if you've never talked to them, how about if you went to someone else's house today and you got the same name from somebody else? All of a sudden, that's a new referral. Well, it's the same person. If you haven't talked to them yet, like, it's still a new referral, even though you're still trying to like figure out when the hell is the best time to catch them. Now, if they said, call me back, or they had something on reschedule, those are people you've talked to. That's separate, right? And then, but every time you're getting new referrals, you're either getting yes, no, call me backs, or you haven't reached them, so what does that list look like? Have we gone back to check those and call those? And I know my manager had sat with me and looked through, and I was like, oh, there was a lot of people I had never reached, and there was even some I had never called, and that helped really elevate things. And so that's the first thing, is people need people to call. Cool. So today we're going to walk you guys through things to look at. Claudia's going to walk through what she does. She does a phenomenal job with helping people impact their list, increase their list. And then I'm going to give you guys tips on Tuesday at the boot camp, because I'm going to go through everyone of just like the psychology of enrolling people. And we're going to have a panel to ask questions on referrals from people who really made the switch, right? And made the jump and started seeing those higher averages and things that really help them. All right. The second thing that people need to succeed with Cutco is they need a plan. Cool. So they need an actual like schedule, structure. The fact is, if you're just trying to do things whenever's possible, whatever I can, not much is going to get done. All right. And, I was in a PC yesterday in the afternoon, and I challenged somebody to sit down and freaking make their schedule, because they were going to do, I'm going to do as much as I can. Well, as much as I can was it nothing last week and nothing so far this week. And I said, if you don't, this job, you can't do as much as you can, because that ends up being nothing a lot of times. So pick one day. I said, even if it's that, say, I'm going to do demos for one day. And that's you have a plan. I said, first, you need to know, when are you doing your demos? Okay. And anytime you help somebody, when are they doing their demos? And then you work backwards of when are they making their calls, right? And so the individual I was working with was like, well, let me see when I want to make my calls, and then I'll see when I want to do my and I said, well, you actually want to reverse engineer it. You want to know, like, when are one of the days I want to do appointments, right? And then look within 48 hours, what am I doing within 48 hours to make sure I'm booked for that? I said, that's how you want to look at it. And so when you guys sit down to do schedules with people, and I have a video that I'm going to give you guys on making schedules. And so I'm going to send you guys a sheet later with these things, and it'll have like the links to it. But when you making a rep schedule and getting a good consistent flow that feels good for them, right? So how many appointments do they want to do per week? Do you know if there's someone that wants to do 7, 10, 15, 20 or more per week? Like, do they have a number? And this is especially important as we go into the fall, back to school. Most students either do focus 5, all right, 5 demos a week, lucky 7, or perfect 10. Cool. And those who are part of the dirty dozen, if we have students doing 12 appointments a week, they're almost always our scholarship winners. Cool. Just so you guys know that. So it's about consistency, right? Do we have structure? Do we have consistency? Do we have the discipline to carry that out? Absolutely. Because that makes a really big difference. All right. So again, they need people to call, they need a plan. All right. And they need to have their basics down. Do they actually like do the closing properly, right? Do you understand the parts of the close? We're going to give you guys, I have a pre-recorded video that I'm going to end up giving you guys. We'll see if we hit on some of it later at the end of today. But if not, it's on like how to do an actual skills check and be able to check people and be able to give them feedback on stuff. All right. And then I have a video by itself that actually talks about the 3 parts of the close in detail. And that's really good for you guys to understand, because when you, if you hear someone do their close, you should be judging them on the 3 areas. Like, how do they do the comparison to Wusthof and Shun? You know, like, are they knocking them down or are they building them up, right? Like, are they confident talking about big numbers, or are they like, oh, that's crazy, right? Or like, people ruin their sales just in that first part on page 9 of the close, doing the comparison because of how they do it. And they make a statement like, isn't that crazy? Like 4,000 for knives. And they just killed any opportunity that they had to sell $4,000 because you just told the customer they're crazy if they spend that much money. Do you guys see that? But when you're doing it, you might not have thought of that. John Austin didn't think about that. He was just like, ready to tell them our price, right? Like, oh, how exciting, ours is less. But he didn't realize the psychology of, in part 1, you want to build them. You want to build, hey, this is the best in stores, top rated. This is like the Rolls Royce or Bentley of knives. They're not cheap. You know, I said, you know, they have different sets that range in price, kind of like BMW. So this would be like their fully loaded 7 series, right? So obviously, you know, it's going to cost more. They retail over $3,000, $3 to $4,000. You can get them on sale for about 2. There are some major differences between us and them, and then getting excited. So you're building them up, and then you're like, here's how we compare, we're better. Are they doing that with confidence, right? When at the bottom of page 9, when they say $4,000, like, are you in that part being able to say, you say $4,000, say it confidently. I did it when I first started. I did a lot of very small sales. My average order was like $140 when I first started. All right. And I was scared as shit of the prices and the numbers. And so my manager helped me with that. And so that was the part where when I said, hey, you're talking over $4,000, it would be like buying a really nice, like Snap-ons or Craftsman set of tools or a home appliance or sofa, you know, so, and they're like, oh, okay. And if I'm seeing someone a little bit more upper income, or they play golf, or I see they have designer bags, you know, if I was seeing Jackie's mom, I'd be like, it's like a nice Chanel bag, you know, and they're like, oh yeah. All right. And so being able to connect on things that they spend money on. Right. And then we go to the second part of the closing, and the second part of the closing is the actual price presentation. Right. And are they writing, are they personally writing it down? If they're on the phone, are they having the customer write it down? Like, are they going through that process? Most of our representatives are doing virtual appointments, whether it's on video or on the phone. You want to have them write it down. So they're saying, hey, can you cross out 4,000? Can you write down 3,000 under it? Can you, like, are they going through that process? Because if you do that properly, you will sell more. All right. Guaranteed. And then the third part of the close that you need to judge is how do they ask for the order, right? Many of you have heard me give the story of Ryan Stoffer, who never asked for the order. He did a great presentation. He did the closing, and he said, he just looked at me and smiled, after he told me the prices. And I looked at him and smiled. And he said, do you like anything? I said, I love everything. And he looked at me again and he said, do you want me to show you the smaller stuff? I said, sure. And he showed me the smaller stuff. And then he's like, do you want me to show you accessories? I said, sure. And he showed me accessories. And then he goes, did you like anything? I said, I loved everything. And he's like, great. And he looks at me and smiles, and I smiled back. And he goes, well, thank you so much for seeing me. I got paid every time. And he goes into recommendations. And I was like, whoa, what happened? He's like, what? I said, you never asked for the order. He's like, yes, I did. I said, no, you didn't. He's like, I asked you if you liked anything. I said, I liked everything. I said, you never asked me if I wanted to buy. And he's like, well, I kind of did. I'm like, no, you didn't. I said, when they do the presentation, they're doing it just to help you out. Until you pose that question, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask, do you want to go ahead and try Cutco today? You aren't going to have replies, and I don't care if you ask like that, or if you go, did you want that in classic or pearl? All right, cool. Let's do it. You want the big or the small set? All right, let's go. I don't care, but like, you didn't ask me, do you want to try it? Do you want to get this? Do you want to try it out? Do you want to put a deposit? Do you want to buy it? I don't care how you ask, but I did not get a question asking. And for those who don't know this story, later that week, I had a call into the office from one of his customers who called wanting to buy a Galleria set. And I was like, oh, Galley. And she's like, yeah. She said, I said, do you have Cutco? And I was like, because I was going to send someone to do a presentation for her. Right. And she's like, oh, no, I just saw one. And I was thinking like 10 years ago. And she's like, no, this past weekend. And I'm like, what? And I said, where are you located? And she said, oh, I'm here. And we figured out that it was Ryan that had seen her. And she said, oh, he did such a great job. He was so sweet. We had so much fun. She's like, the only thing is he didn't let me know where I could actually buy some. And so I kept the sale. He's like, what? I was like, yep, my sale. She bought it from me. And I spent the money on him. I took him out to dinner, but I was like, hey, you have to ask for the order. You can't expect sales if you don't ask for the order with confidence. And we worked on that. I showed him the deposit close. I'm like, if someone's like super there, I'm just like, so did you want it in classic or pearl? Right? I don't even ask, like, do you want to, I'm just like, and did you want to do the deposit or pay in full? Great. Like if I see them all in, it's like, did you want it in classic or pearl? That's my close. Or did you want it with table knives or steak knives? Like I already know they want it. If they're like not, if I don't see them like, oh my God, like they like so want it, that's where I'm like, well, hey, you could pay for it all today, but obviously you haven't even gotten to use this stuff yet, right? So what most people do is they use our deposit program. That way you can get it, try it out. You have 3 weeks, make sure you love it. Worst case, send it back. You get 100% of your money back. You had free Cutco for 3 weeks, like literally worst case. But I'm pretty confident you're going to love this stuff like everyone does. And so you have 2 options. You can call and pay it off, or you could do the easy pay. It's the same amount each month. And here's what it would break down to, per week and what you'd want to put aside in the budget. Is that something that would make you feel more comfortable to do the deposit or just to pay for it all now? They're like, oh no, not the deposit. I'm like, yeah, that's what I figured. Right. And so like, are you able to like read your customers and go through like that stuff that you learned? That's not automatic. I didn't know that when I was new, and so we want to be able to like, if you go shadow someone or like when you guys are doing your demos, are you setting the right example, right? We want to see all of your guys' demos to be able to give you feedback to make sure that you're doing it properly, right? But are you seeing the right people? Are you seeing MAT customers, married average age homeowners, guys? It makes a world of a difference. Are you enrolling them into who you are, where you're going, and how this is going to benefit you long term? That's going to make a very big difference in all of your results. And if people are watching you and you're doing field trainings, are you doing that properly? And so we want to see that. Then once you do that, you go through and have fun on your demo. Are you showing Cutco with excitement and confidence? And if you guys haven't, recap, I would watch again the video that I did during the boot camp for SC1, the 7 steps to a sale. If you guys haven't seen it, you need to watch that. It's a high level 7 steps to a sale, not your training steps to a sale. And so watch this. I would watch this today because it'll be such a great refresher for you for your own business. So that is right there in the chat. You guys can grab that, but that is magical. Like that helped me so much when my manager taught me all those things. There are so many seed plants, so much psychology, so much that helps you. But are you doing that? Because your number one job as a team leader, as an assistant manager, is to lead by example. Everyone got that? Lead by example. Say, hey, come watch me. Hey, come let me show you, right? Like that's the best way to coach and teach people. And you're making dual money because as an assistant manager, you get money off the office sales. So they're performing better. So you're going to earn more money off of them, but you're also earning more money because you're doing your demos. So you're like, I'm making money off my demo. I'm making money off them getting better. Let's go, right? Like that was my favorite to teach. And that's something that I always tell branch managers. Like right now, I was talking to the guys earlier with Drockland and excuse me, Brooklyn and all the branches, but that's a big thing that they're preparing right now for the push. And they're going to be doing phone time with you guys on Tuesday. And they're going to be going out and doing 30, 40, 50, 60 plus appointments during the next couple of weeks, all the branches, right? They're making 50% commissions. But, you know, I said the best thing that they can do is they're like, oh, I need to PC my people. I need to coach my people. I said, you know, the best way to coach them, take them with you, let them watch you. Cool. Let them watch you. It's the best way for them to learn. And again, win-win. You guys are all making more money. And then after you do the field training, spend 10, 15 minutes to debrief. So when I was doing a lot of field trainings, I did my demos 2 hours apart so that I had time right afterwards to debrief with them. And then I'd make my, 5, 10 calls and then I'd go to my next demo, right? And so giving myself that time to make sure I was always booked up ahead. And so you can't forget that. Your 48-hour window has to be booked. And I'll talk about that Tuesday with just making sure we're building the right momentum going into the push. All right. So very important. And then at the end of the demo, are they seeing you make the customer feel like a rock star, regardless of what happened at the end, right? Are they seeing you bring it back to the presentation and how much that helps you and how you need to do 20 a week to hit your goal? And if you do 20 presentations a week, Miss Jones, I will hit my goal. I will win my scholarship. I will be on stage. I will get into GCLA. Are you confident when you share that with customers that they know the support they give you will get you there? Or you're like, I hope it gets me there. Like people don't want to be part of a like, oh, hope, I think, a maybe. People get enrolled into people that are like the confidence. I'm going here. Here's what I want to do. Here's where I want to go. It makes a very big difference. And I think I shared this. Eric, Aiden, Chase, did I share when we did I'm trying to think when we did when we had that recommendation workshop, how I talked about Chino, that his friend's dad, that he was the surgeon, that he would give a scholarship, and one person's like, oh, I'm going to try it out, and the other person was like, I gave that story. Aiden remembers it, but I'm going to share this Tuesday with everyone. But like, I've said this so many times to people that I've coached, and then it was just so funny because one of my guys said it back to me, and he was like, oh my gosh, Kat, you were right. My dad's, one of his dad's best friends, who was like a top surgeon, like stopped him in his tracks and said, stop being so wishy-washy. Not like, I want to see where this goes. I hope it goes well, whatever. He's like, that doesn't make me feel confident that if I invest in you, it's going to go somewhere, And he shared with him how he would give scholarships to students from med school. And he's like, if I have 2 people applying for my scholarship and one person says, oh yeah, like, he's like, oh, tell me about, what you want to do, why you want to go to med school, like why you feel you'd be a good fit for this. And the person goes, since I was younger, I just thought it'd always be cool to like be a doctor or surgeon, like be able to help people, like be able to like make good money, and like, and where do you want to go for like your residency, or, do you know where you want to go to med school? Like, no, I'm not sure. I want to do undergrad first and just kind of check it out and see how it goes. And, if things go good, then I'll, look into that. Right. Cool. That's your first person. And then the second person is like, since I was 8 years old, I knew I wanted to go here. I want to go to Vanderbilt for this. I want to go here for med school. I want to be a surgeon. My dream is to do my residency in this place. Like I 100% like everything, like, here's my track. Here's how many, like, and they just have everything all planned out. He's like, who do you think I want to give the scholarship to? Like this person, like they are certain and they know where they're going and they have a plan. And this one's like, I'm gonna check it out and see how it goes. Why would I want to give them my money when they might not even follow through with this? Does that make sense? And it's the same thing in our business. The more confident they see you, the more certain you are as you're going through stuff, the more excited that they are to want to be a part of that. Cool. So really, really important that again, when people are going field training with you, and as you were like, do you understand that? And we'll again talk about that more on Tuesday, but like that certainty and that where customers are like, oh my gosh, like they're just so impressed, so inspired, and like so excited to be a part of that journey with you and get you where you want to go. Right. And so even if they can't buy, they feel great and they want to give you like everyone to see, they want everyone to meet you because you're like, you're so awesome. And they want to introduce you to every freaking person they know. All right. So I'm gonna switch gears into managing a mini team, and I want to give some tips on this for about 10 minutes. Then I'm going to hand it over to Claudia to dive into expanding their names list, and then they're going to go through upselling, and her and Spencer will be helping you guys out as they're also working with the team. But I want to show you guys this. So there's something that, and this is, I need to adjust this for summer verbiage, like just because the days might be off in terms of when you want to look at it, just to say, okay, when is my team meeting, right? When is my PSP, like in your office? Because this is really starting in August, like after SC, after the conference, we shift into this PDI. So this is actually only for a couple more weeks. So it's just like knowing like what day is what when you guys are talking to people. But each morning, one of the things that I told our managers today is like, we want to, and I was talking to John last night, is can we have like the points for you guys of the things that you want to make sure you hit with your team, whether you're helping mentor, you have your mentees, 2 or 3 mentees, and you might have a little mini team that's like 5 to 7 people that you're just giving them a quick shot in the morning or between demos, or you're just texting them or whatever. But like if we were like, hey, do you have 15 or do you have 30 minutes that you can help, call through your team? And it's up to you guys how much you give to your teams. Obviously, they're going to do better. But once you guys are actually an assistant manager, this is more assistant manager, PDI playbook that I had put together this spring for all of our assistants. And so I'm going to put this here. So just so you guys could see it, I'm not going to dive in and walk through all of it. But this just goes through, and again, this is non-summer. So non-summer, we're closed on Sundays, except for, people doing demos, they call in, but there's no office functions on Sundays after SC2. Until next summer. And so it just talks about, it goes through like plan on finishing the week strong, making sure they're good for their paycheck meeting, creating momentum. And so if for some reason they can't make PSP, do they have their PC set? Do they have their daily goals? Like it just tells you like what we've made this really easy, right? So you become assistant manager, like, what do I talk to them about? Like we have it here. It's just like a demo. All right. And so I'm like, hey, Johnny, if imagine I gave you $1,000 to come in with this. I'm like, would you find a way? Like, yeah. I'm like, all right. So it's not a matter of if you'll just sit down and work on it, huh? But it just has different conversations, Tuesday, like with the newbies, what you want to make sure with the team, what to follow up on. And it talks about make sure we have their schedule in web PDI, looking back, look forward, like these are Tuesday conversations, make sure they have their PC, inviting them to key leaders. And so this is more for, assistant managers who are doing PDI, and PDI being personal daily impact, personal daily interaction, or personal daily influence, really helping guide and coach people through that process. Cool. And so this is like on Wednesday, what to say. So you guys can check this out on your own later. We're not doing training on this right now. This is more, I think a higher level assistant manager. But, some of you guys are doing that already. And some of you guys might have a day that you're like, do you need help with anything? Like I've got a break, and I need a mental break from making phone calls. And I've got 3 more demos later today. And that always happens during the push. And you're like, do you need help with anything? And we might say, hey, here's a script. Like, can you help call through this section, and make sure they have the stuff that they need and they're ready to go. Right. So anyway, that's all on here so you guys can see that and you have that. Now, in terms of managing mini teams, here are the things that really make an impact. So number 1 I mentioned was lead by example, right? That's really important because the better you're doing it versus just telling them to do it, the better people emulate. Okay. And so people are pretty good copycats. And if they don't see you doing it, like, well, what are you doing? It doesn't help develop other like high level producers, high level assistants. And that's something that we're really focused on going into this fall, is making sure that those that we do have on staff are really leading the charge by example in the sales side of things. And they're able to do, even if it's just doing 2 or 3 demos a week, but taking people field training with them and like, showing them how to do it right and having fun in that process. And you're making some money off the office for just doing your job and letting other people watch you do it, right? So starting off, it's field training, taking people with you on your appointments. It's helping lead 2 hours of phone jam in the course of the week. So whether that's an hour this day that you're leading, an hour here, or you're like, hey, Sunday night from 6 to 8 p.m. or from 5 to 7, like I'm gonna lead the phone jam, And so we'll, in the beginning of the week, we'll always get like, when are your phone jams? Which are the ones you're leading? And so that way you can post it in the group me, right? And you could say, hey, if anyone wants to jump on, I have a phone jam from 11 to 12 on Friday, or hey, if anyone wants to jump on, I'm leading a phone jam. I'll be phone jamming from 9 to 10 on Saturday. And you can just post it in the group me so that people know, and put the Zoom that you'll be on so that people can join you. Cool. So field training, phone jamming, and then, are you guys completing 5 to 7 or more demos each? Are you getting on the newsletter each week? And that's what we want to make sure we help you guys do. And we're going to be digging in to see like where are the areas, where are the confidence blocks, where are stuff, and that, like, where are those things that are keeping you from where you want to be. All right. And then putting together some kind of an outline. And there's the last thing I'll share: when you're going to meet with your teams. So managing teams, you should have a group me or a text group, that you guys can communicate, where you can just put like motivational memes. Like the best team leaders have done like motivational memes, motivational videos, things that they'll post in there. They're always sharing like, hey, I'm gonna make calls. Hey, like make sure you're here. Like following up with people like, hey, team meeting. Be like, we got to beat everybody. Be like, how many names do you have on your list? All right, let's go. And they might send that to everyone. And there's resources, because you could text your 7 people individually, copy and paste a similar message that you have, or if you're messaging them all the same thing, there's also apps that are free where you can do group texting and have them all in a group, and at one time send a text, go, hey, how's your day going? Boom, and your 7 people get it while you're in between demos, and you can like respond to them and chat with them easily, right? And so that's something that you can do. There's tons of apps that help with that if it's something that you're interested in, right? And that helps you have a lot more communication, but it doesn't take more time, right? Like it's just like if you're talking to one person, but then like as they reply, you're like, what's going on? Or you're like, hey, you want to go field training with me? I have a demo in 20 minutes, right? And so taking them with you on that journey. So having, knowing how you guys are going to communicate, all right, and what's their style of communication. So that's important to know. And then each week when you meet at the team meeting, one of the things that we'll be doing is a team huddle. So you'll be working with your teams during team meetings. So you will be we're going to be splitting up like during the push. This will happen even, I think Sunday the 16th, we'll start this, but we'll have like all the different teams. And you'll phone with your people, and you'll have a team goal of like, we want to book, hey, between the 5 of us, our goal is to book up 20 appointments during this phone jam, like let's freaking go and put it on the board and like be working towards that goal together. If we're online, you're in a breakout room with your people, and you have something on the board, you're helping, you're like, come on guys, we only have this many more to go, right? Or like, nice job, got another one. And then, oh, I just booked one, boom, all right, we're at 7, all right, only 13 to go, let's go. And then you make your next call. And so it's not like you're not stopping, watching, leading, right? Like you're doing it. And as you like, oh, booked another one. How we doing out there? Nice job, Selene. You got one. Nice job. All right, cool. I'm gonna make my next call. Let's keep going, guys. We're only this many away. And like while the phone's ringing on your next call, you're like, great job, guys. Let's go. We got this. And then Miss Jones says, you're like, oh, hey, how are you? And you like dive in with your phone call. And so you like learn of like every time you book a demo, promote, recognize the others that booked a demo, and then call your next person. You're like, all right, let's keep going, guys, and keeping that tempo. And again, that whole leading by example, and they're seeing you do it, is the most powerful thing that you can do. And then one of my old assistant managers had made this for themselves for their team meeting of like things they wanted to do. And this is something that we can adjust and you guys can do. And Claudia, I think will be good. We can talk with, John Spencer, like putting for the weeks, like what we want them to go over in terms of like when they meet with their mini teams in a small group, right? And so this was something that one of my assistants had put together of just making sure when they met with their team, like looking at people's schedule, did they have the team meetings in their schedule, right? Whether it was PSP, team meeting, was it in there? Do they have the times that they were checking in? Do you know when they're checking in, right? Maybe they have their friend's birthday the night before and they're going to sleep until 1 o'clock tomorrow. You don't need to talk to them at 9 a.m., right? You're going to talk to them after 1 o'clock. And so just knowing like what is happening with your people, workshops, what workshops are you getting them to, phone jams. And so this was, Cass was pretty hardcore, and she was like, they need to be at a minimum of 3 phone jams during the week. Like you get to decide that with your team, but and I think that that's a good number to make sure that they're a part of 3 phone jams, one to kick off the week, one in between, right? Which could just be at the team meeting, and then like Thursday night or a Friday phone jam to make sure their weekend's booked up, right? But that was her flow with her team. Demo times, like when are they doing their demos, and just like knowing their minimum for each day. So she's like, okay, cool. So you want to do 2 each day? All right, what's your minimum for the week? So she had this chart on the bottom. This was made by her for her team, where she would put their CPO goal, their demo goal, how much money they wanted to earn, if they were like trying to get to their next promotion, if they wanted to have like 1 or 2 grand days. So GDs was grand days, like getting them a key staff. And so this isn't my outline, so I'm just kind of sure. So I don't know exactly exactly how she used it, but she had made this to manage her team, and she did a phenomenal job managing her team. And so she would break down her team goal, like, okay, what's everyone going to do? Get everyone's individual goal, their CPO goals, which branch offices were they going to be? They wanted their mini team to be branches. How much money are we going to help them make this week? Any other mini teams you were shooting to take down, how many grand days each person was going to have, what promotions are you going to get at the conference? Are you getting your 6K promo, 10K promo? Are you getting a key staff? Are you getting assistant manager promo? Are you casting vision for your people in terms of what's possible and what could get there? Okay. And then, setting up field training with people. She always was matching people up, setting them up with you, setting them up with others so that people can be learning and growing together. And then, she had their team name, team goal for the week, whatever they're doing, they just have their stuff there. So that's just an example that I wanted to share with you guys. But just like going in with intention of like, okay, what do I want to get? How am I going to drive my people, right? Do I know their goals? Do I know when they want to work? Do I know where they want to get to? So I can properly hold them accountable. That makes a very big difference in the results that you're going to have. All right. So I want to throw that out there. And I'll